use something like, I was just noticing on YouTube, like, I was theorizing about, like, I noticed, like, all these, like, hypno-RPG YouTubers, I call them, and then I saw an article, or, like, another YouTube video, like, that was a hate video, like, against the LARPers, you know, live action role-playing, like, YouTubers, so it's kind of like the same thing. The difference between hypno-RPG and LARPing is, like, you can actually, like, talk about it honestly, and you're not passing off as something fake. You can authentically talk about what you're doing when you're playing hypno-RPG. That's why it's like a meta game. In terms of society, it's firmly rooted within developed ontologies that are already established in society. So it's like theories within existing theories. It's like given what is established in terms of like the accepted theories and what we believe ontologically is so, then like what systems can exist within the established ontologies, and that's basically what hypno-RPG is, essentially, in a sense. So I was just thinking, like, in terms of this log, I was mainly wanting to just document how I feel like maybe a chill format, like, or strategy for making content is to, like, literally just, like, create auto-hypnosis logs, you know, like, cause the whole thing is, like, these LARPer channels or whatever, they, like, basically talk to the target demographic like they fucking know them, and, like, charlatans, like, cold reading the whole fucking time, and they're, like, talking exactly at you as a viewer, like they know you, and so that's, like, ultimately, like, why don't I just, like, pretend like I know myself, which I, like, auto-hypnosis, you know, like, so just auto-hypnosis the whole time in your logs. And ultimately, that's kind of what I do anyway. So, like, in terms of, like, authenticity and competitiveness, I feel like that notion is maybe, of this book I was thinking about, is maybe illustrative of what I'm talking about here. Like, nice guys finish rich, you know? And it's like, just to, like, take a stab at the underlying premise of that book, it's probably fundamentally about that psychological notion, like, if you treat people nicely and kindly, like, they're gonna reciprocate and treat you nicely and kindly, and that's just, like, good for business, having good relationships, you know? One, you're more trusting and you're more open to being wrong in front of people, you're more communicative, you know? You're not afraid of looking dumb or stupid, you feel comfortable with being yourself. So, I feel like fundamentally that's kind of what it is. So, also, like, in terms of, like, just logging as well, like, auto-hypnosis, it comes back to auto-hypnosis, and, like, that really isn't puzzling to me, because I feel like, honestly, I do believe that this theory that I started positing recently, which is, you know, hypnosis, auto-hypnosis precedes ontology. So if that's so, like, it really ought to not, like, surprise you to really, like, kind of, like, keep falling back to auto-hypnosis when logic breaks down, because fundamentally that's kind of, like, the basis of even having a psychological orientation. So, like, egoically, I feel like, fundamentally, I posit. So yeah, I don't know, I'll probably just add that log, like, upload it to YouTube, because sharing is caring, and, like, anything is good enough, I suppose. So, like, you know, like, just to kind of riff with this YouTuber I've been, like, watching and kind of interacting with recently, like, just in terms of YouTube, like, interfacing with the YouTube interface to interact. She was like, you know, fucking, even drawing, like, not verbatim, but, like, even drawing one thing a day is better than drawing 0 things, you know? And, like, don't let analysis paralysis cripple you out of that, like, small secure hustle. Like, if you're wanting to draw, like, godly manga, or, like, fucking the illest manga, it's like, you know, you get out what you put in, so that takes effort. And so if you, like, relate to that feeling in an empowering way rather than have it paralyze you out of taking action, if you, like, engage with it and find, like, a fun challenge in it, like an empowering way to energetically relate to it, I feel like fundamentally that's what hypnotherapy is about. If you can, like, relate to things powerfully in an empowered sense, using, like, what they say, like, you know, resourceful states. So, like, thinking of times in your life where you felt powerful and empowered, and, like, where you're really cool, calm, collected, and, like, in control, and you've got everything under wraps and things, and you're in your own center of gravity, and you're just enjoying life as a being with agency. you know, it's like that's ultimately where you want to be relating to things from. And I feel like fundamentally positivity is a big part of that. Like, as this log goes on, now I want to talk about this other YouTuber I've been listening to recently. I think it was basically saying, like, you know how, you know, fucking reasonably safe countries are now and stuff, like living in a house. You know, if you're in a house and you're like safe and you're like comfortable enough, like, and like if the only negativity is in your life, like, is psychologically, like, you know, like that person was basically saying, like, if you're actually safe and like in a dwelling and you're like got your basic needs met, like, you ought to actually be fucking enjoying yourself, like, because the only difference is like psychologically how you're relating to things fundamentally, I think is what that person was getting at. So it's like the only thing standing in your way is kind of like you being dominate, in terms of you dominating your psychology rather than you getting bossed around by a runaway psychology that's like maybe being manipulated externally or being pushed around by the external forces, you know? So I feel like kind of psychologically dominating your own mind is maybe kind of a bit like that manga notion of mine, like we're like our psychologies, like psychology is a modern word for soul, and we're like biomech pilots, and our bodies, our biological bodies are like biomechs. So we're like kind of like astral projecting into this 3D dimension, like in an Olbeckian sense, like to draw from meta theories and Olbeckian ontologies, like, which is like meta ontology experimentation in fictional realms. So it's to like experiment informationally with that, and like, yeah, so I don't know, like, just basically to wrap this log up, I feel like fundamentally positivity is so important, because if you analyze like that notion, like autohypnosis precedes ontology, then it's like, if that's so, your physiological state is of great importance, even more so in that equation, because fundamentally what you hypnotize yourself into thinking is so, what you suggest is real, that you probably experience in your reality, in terms of the reality you hallucinate into existence, in terms of what you experience, like the reality you experience in terms of your life experience. I feel like fundamentally, you know, if you want a nice life, you have to be positively suggesting yourself great things continually, and this is what like many books posit that speak about autosuggestion and positivity, like autohypnosis and like the new think movement, like heavily drawing from like the Nancy school believers or practitioners, like the people who believe in positive autosuggestion and the greatness of autohypnosis, essentially. So yeah, I feel like it makes sense that, you know, if you're at a fat party, you know, it's just like the vibes are mean and it feels great, and something happens at the party and you relate to it from that place, so it's like in the same vein, it's like at the same party, it's like in the same domain. So if you think about like the most high frequency things that exist, maybe they're virtues, they're just so positive and they're burning like suns, like stars. Maybe stars are virtues, in this metaphor or in this equation I'm illustrating hypnotically here, say, let's say virtues are stars. Then it's kind of like that's a like really super highly frequent, like highly vibratory, like kind of like energy emitter, you know, or literally, that's what they are. So it's kind of like the radiating, like, say, electromagnetism of a virtue, like what exactly is that? So it's kind of like maybe intensity, like of signal, like the closer to a virtue, the more like kind of that virtue is like penetrating into, kind of like light rays hitting your body and then like influencing your matter. So it's like kind of like biophotons, like some radioactive emission, like bioelectromagnetic radiation, like emission from these stars or virtues. And so if you think about all these virtues, like say there's just so many virtues, and like stars are compositions, you know, they're composed of virtues, so they're not just like one virtue. Maybe they're like amalgamations, or like high concentrate of one virtue diluted with like subsequent like other virtues, for example. So the kind of like emission signature of the radiating emission waves, the electromagnetic waves, biophotons, or what have you, they're like different compositions of virtue-based values. So it's just kind of like energy with values, fundamentally. And so it makes sense that if we as beings have like at our heart, in a biological sense, like core dispositions and values, then we obviously have different like philia, like different magnetic attractions, and we're obviously disgusted as well, probably repelled away from other kinds of frequencies, just given physics. So, you know, like maybe we don't get on with certain people, and that's because of the natural attraction we have towards certain virtues and the natural disgust or repulsion we have from other virtues. And so it's just kind of like, maybe there is a good place to be like hashtag diversity and hashtag complexity, and like, you know, simplicity and beauty as well. So, you know, just for hypnosis purposes, for hypnotic purposes, as in auto-hypnosis, hashtag positive ritual auto-hypnosis. Anyway, I probably got more to think about. I reckon this a kind of chill log. Like, just before I end this log, like, I'll just say like I'm probably gonna log heaps more because it's like good business. It's a good going deal, you know, like make a log, share it because you care. Eventually, if you do enough good things for good reasons, you'll probably reap the rewards in cold hard cash, I imagine. So hopefully my YouTube channel makes a lot of money eventually, and in the meantime, I'm gonna keep fucking existing and be like, oh, I'm so glad my YouTube channel makes me heaps of money. It was so worth investing how I did, and I love investing, and I'm a great businessman, and investment is real fucking cool, and so is auto-hypnosis, and peace.